Our MSNBC coverage continues now with the Rachel Maddow Show. Good evening to you, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith, and thank you. And thank you at home for sticking around for this next hour. We have some breaking news, some surprising breaking news on Barack Obama getting off the campaign trail this week. We've also got a whole lot of other campaign news to get to tonight. You're down in the polls, way down in fundraising, and your opponent is down in Florida with some of his very popular allies.
Tell them Hillary sent you to vote for Barack Obama.
If you were John McCain with 15 days left, with the outlook as dire for you as it is for him right now, how would you try to win?
He said it himself. We need to spread the wealth around. Now, that's one of the tenets of socialism.
The Bolsheviks in the bathroom, he's a commie strategy, comes out of retirement for what we hope is one last go-round in American politics. Any special inflection you want to put on it this time around?
It was totally about race.
The elephant in every political scientist's living room this year. Does the Bradley effect exist? Is the predictive power of polling about black candidates smaller than it appears? The Obama campaign says it does not believe there is a Bradley effect. Tonight, the evidence that the McCain campaign not only believes in it, but is counting on it to win. And the Palin effect. Apparently just what the Democrats ordered. A new poll has Palin shaking public confidence in McCain. Add that to Colin Powell's assessment.
I don't believe she's ready to be president of the United States.
And add a little too much maverick to the campaign messaging, and all the Saturday night living in the world may not be able to salvage the one decision that is sinking the McCain campaign.
You really have to work hard to violate Governor Palin's standards on negative campaigning.
Anna Marie Cox on the latest Palintology. Early voting is in effect, but will everyone who wants to vote get to vote? Young voters whose numbers doubled as a voting bloc during the primaries feel their votes are being suppressed all over the country. Matthew Siegel of the Student Association for Voter Empowerment is trying to sound the alarm. He joins us live. And the world's most mysterious celebrity, John Hodgman, joins us to revel in the wonderful strangeness of his fame and expertise. Semi-serious talk about very serious things. The Rachel Maddow Show starts now. We start with breaking news tonight that Senator Barack Obama has unexpectedly announced that he will suspend his presidential campaign on Thursday and Friday so he can be in Hawaii with his 86-year-old grandmother. She is ill. She has taken a turn for the worse. The campaign is keeping the specific details of her medical condition private, but they have said that her health has declined to the point of seriousness that Senator Obama believes he must suspend her campaign and go join her. She is 86 years old. Her name is Madeline Dunham. She played a key role in raising him from the time he was born until the moment that he left for college. He has spoken often and with a lot of emotion on the campaign trail about how important she has been in his life. When Senator Obama took a week-long vacation earlier on the campaign trail, it was in part because he wanted to spend that time in Hawaii with his ailing grandmother. This is an unexpected development on the campaign trail. This, of course, has huge implications for Senator Obama and his family in their personal life. Of course, what we're all left to wonder for the country is what this means for his political life as well. Joining us now on the phone is NBC's Lee Cowan. He has been traveling with the Obama campaign. Lee, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Sure, Rachel.
Did this announcement come out of nowhere? Did you have any indication that something like this might be happening?
No, not at all. In fact, it was about halfway into the flight from Orlando tonight after that rally with Hillary Clinton that spokesman Robert Gibbs came back pretty somber-faced and said that he was changing some of the campaign plans. We were supposed to be doing some campaign swings in Wisconsin on Thursday, on Wednesday, and on Thursday in Iowa. Those have now changed. He's still going to do a campaign rally in Indianapolis, but shortly after that, he'll be boarding his plane to fly to Hawaii. It's going to be a long flight. It's about 8 hours from Indianapolis to Hawaii. He'll spend Thursday evening and as much of Friday as he can in Hawaii at the bedside of his grandmother, and then fly back from Hawaii, presumably overnight, to resume his efforts on the campaign trail on Saturday. That's the plan now, although, of course, if this is as serious as it sounds, perhaps that could extend even longer than that if the worst-case scenario happens. The campaign simply isn't sure yet, but at this time, they think he'll be back out on the campaign trail on Saturday.
Have they given you indications that Senator Obama's grandmother is hospitalized? Have they given any specific information about what type of illness she might be suffering from?
No, they're still keeping pretty mum about exactly what her condition is, although she was hospitalized last week, we understand. She was released late last week. She's back home in her apartment in Honolulu on Oahu. That's where, as you said, Senator Obama went and visited her almost every day. When he was on vacation in mid-August. We never saw her. They were always usually very private moments. He would simply go to the elevator, we'd see him go up, he'd spend an hour or so and come back down. But he did that almost every day, sometimes with Michelle and the two girls, sometimes by himself. He's very close to her, as you mentioned. This is a person who he credits largely with raising him, especially in his later years in high school and before he left for college. So obviously a tough decision to make for him. This is the heat of the campaign, but clearly this is a priority for him and his family.
Lee, I'm interested in the decision by the campaign, not just to cancel the two events planned for, I believe it's Madison, Wisconsin, and Des Moines, Iowa, on Thursday, but also to try to squeeze in this Indianapolis event before he went. Was that something that was on his schedule before, or has that been added to the schedule sort of to compensate for those other events that he will have to miss?
It wasn't on the schedule before. Campaign spokesman said don't read too much into this. I think they wanted to try as much as they could. Indianapolis is still relatively close to home. It doesn't sound like he's leaving to go back to Chicago and then go to Hawaii. However, it sounds like he's leaving directly from Indianapolis. But you're right, they are certainly squeezing this in on Thursday morning. But the campaign says not to read too much into that. They were planning to go to Indianapolis anyway, they say. They didn't have a precise day. It seems like it's pretty much day-to-day at this point exactly where they're going. So this was a last-minute adjustment, but they said doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other.
Lee, do you get any sense from the campaign, either officially or, I guess, in a more ambient sense, in terms of what they think the political cost of this is, what they think the political risk here? Obviously, they decided to do it, but they have to have some sense of how big a problem this might pose for them in terms of momentum and in terms of just how they're doing with just 15 days left before the election.
Well, I mean, they didn't really say this is all happening relatively quickly, although it sounds like the senator had a pretty good sense as of late last week, or at least the beginning of last week, that things had taken a turn for the worse. As we said, he was taken to the hospital last week and just released, and it sounds as if the news was bad enough that he had to make this decision. I think most would say that this is clearly the priority, that this shows where his priorities lie in terms of with his family, with the woman who raised him, with the woman who essentially he credits with giving him many of the credentials that he is so proud of that he thinks will serve him well in the White House. So I think even though they haven't said what they worry about the cost might be, clearly this is not a time that you want to let down your guard. I mean, all along over the last really 5 or 6 days, as you know, Rachel, he's been telling supporters, look, just because we're ahead in the polls, just because things seem to be going our way, it seems as though we have the momentum. He has 2 words for everybody: New Hampshire. Everyone thought he was going to be ahead there, and it didn't happen that way. So they never were taking anything for granted. So clearly this is something that may not necessarily stop their momentum, but 2 days off the trail, this close to Election Day, is a big blow.
Obviously, an in-person appearance by the candidate is the holy grail of attention at this point in the campaign. On the Republican side, it sometimes seems like an in-person appearance by the vice presidential candidate is the holy grail in terms of attention and in terms of press coverage and in terms of crowd size. I wonder, though, about efforts by the Obama campaign to continue the momentum in order to keep a sense that the campaign is still firing on all cylinders, even while Senator Obama himself does need to take himself offline for a couple of days. Do you know, for example, if he's planning to bring any press with him to Hawaii? Do you know if there are any efforts to sign up additional surrogates or to add any additional events by people other than Senator Obama while he's off?
Well, they said Senator Biden would certainly continue his campaign schedule, although, again, some of that later on in the week hasn't been worked out. They did say they thought that some of the surrogates would pick up where he left off. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be picking up rallies in places where he canceled, like in Iowa or Wisconsin, but they think over the next couple of days. Look, they're not saying that this campaign is stopping. Everybody's still going to go full force. They just think the senator needs some private time to go to Hawaii and spend some time with his grandmother. But the campaign as a whole, they say, is going full forward. They are going to take, we call it a pool in television. For those that understand, it'll be a small group of us that travel with the senator in case something happens, in case he has a statement to make. So there will be coverage, certainly, of him there. But he's not planning on taking his entire traveling press tour as he's been doing all along in this campaign.
NBC News correspondent Lee Cowan, who has been covering the Obama campaign all year, is traveling with the campaign now. Lee, thanks for taking time to join us this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rachel.
The image that you see there is Senator Obama with his grandparents, with his maternal grandparents. Obviously, the woman on the right-hand side of your screen is his 86-year-old grandmother, Madeline Dunham. She lives in Honolulu. Senator Obama is changing his schedule to head to Hawaii on Thursday afternoon. He plans to return to the campaign trail on Saturday after his grandmother's health has taken a turn for the worse. He has referenced in the past year, over the course of this campaign, his concern to have additional time with his grandmother as she ages and as she has had some health concerns. That explained in part why he was willing to take a week-long vacation in Hawaii during the midst of this campaign. He obviously took some criticism, some raised eyebrows there. Can you afford to be in a state like Hawaii at a time like this in a campaign that is this fast-moving? Part of his explanation for why he did that is that he felt that he needed to spend some time with his grandmother while he still could. She, of course, had a pivotal role in raising him from his infancy until the time that he went to college. He speaks often about his personal relationship with her and what she has meant to him over the course of his life. We're joined now by Lynn Sweet, who is the Chicago Sun-Times Washington bureau chief. Lynn, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel. Good evening.
Is there precedent for other candidates this late in the game having to take time off the trail, in essence, for a personal matter like this?
Well, actually, yes. Just recently, Jill Biden, the wife of Joe Biden, her mother passed away, and Senator Biden took a small amount of time off on the campaign trail. This happened just very recently. Now, you know, he's the vice presidential candidate, not the presidential candidate, but that happened. And actually, what this does is, while Obama, the campaign is so big and so sprawling and exists in so many places that for some practical purposes, you might not know that he is not on the trail. The statement put out by the campaign, which just came out, doesn't preclude that he couldn't make statements from Hawaii, which is where he will be going to see his grandmother. You have plenty of surrogates, plenty of ads. So as a practical matter, this might also, Rachel, disarm the McCain campaign a bit, because it will be just harder to beat on him personally if he's going through this difficult personal time with the illness of his grandmother.
Certainly, we saw that when Senator Biden did have to take time off the trail when he lost his mother-in-law recently, there was a little bit of criticism of the McCain campaign for going after him during that time. This occasion is probably going to be seen as more dramatic. They will probably take closer note of him being off the trail. Is there anything that the Obama campaign can do in terms of its logistics, in terms of the way it rolls people out, the way it deals with ads and surrogates, to lessen the opportunity cost here, to lessen the potential hit they'll take in terms of momentum?
Absolutely. They have an almost unlimited supply of big name political figures, entertainment figures, so I don't think that's what you would want here, figures from public life, and they could put them, right now a lot of them are around the nation. Every day there's the concentration, I know, on what the McCain and Obama is doing and some of the most senior people around them. But they're surrogates all over the country all the time. I would think that if they put a few together, that you easily could keep the momentum going, because you don't need necessarily these big dramatic rallies that Obama has in order to maintain a presence. And if nothing else, you just deal with the hand you got, Rachel. Yeah. And it's a resourceful campaign. And like I said, I think the McCain people will have to stand down a bit.
Lynn Sweet, Chicago Sun-Times Washington bureau chief, thanks for joining us on short notice, Lynn. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next joining us is Newsweek magazine columnist and NBC News analyst Jonathan Alter. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Rachel.
We've just received word from the Obama campaign that as Senator Obama takes time off to go to Hawaii, Michelle Obama will hold events in place of him in Akron, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio on Friday. When Senator Obama returns to the campaign trail Saturday morning, he will head out west. They say we will have more information about the exact schedule and the event details in the coming days. Jonathan, obviously this is a personal tragedy and a personal concern for Senator Obama. That's why he's taking the time off. What is the political risk here, if any?
Well, it's a significant amount of time, 4 days with 14 to go. That is close to a third of the remaining time that will be consumed by this personal matter. So it's obviously not something that you want to do this close to the end, unless you have to, for personal reasons. But I don't think it's going to be a significant blow to his campaign, because so much of the campaign nowadays takes place in cyberspace or on television, and not necessarily at these events themselves, in terms of changing people's minds, moving the needle on the polls. The personal appearances are only part of what's involved in a modern day campaign, and also the particular nature of this visit is one that actually works well with something that he's been doing in his advertising, which is he's had a number of what they call bio spots on in various states, including Pennsylvania, where he shows himself with his family, with the people who had a great influence on his life, including his grandmother, whom he called Toot, and was a huge influence, a very interesting woman who started out as a clerk in a bank without much education, and she was so competent, so capable as a person that she rose to a senior position in a bank in Hawaii, and clearly a lot of his organizational skills that we've seen on display in this campaign came from his grandmother.
Jonathan Alter of Newsweek magazine and NBC News, thank you for that background information, a reminder about his grandmother and what sort of life she's had in addition to influencing Senator Obama. Thanks, Jonathan. When we come back, among the new buzzwords coming out of the McCain campaign about Barack Obama are the words socialist and the word welfare. Could they be banking on the so-called and much-debated Bradley effect as a last-ditch effort to divide and conquer the electorate? We will analyze it next.
Meet the Buttertons.
Dinner's ready. Back then, we didn't know much about saturated fat.
Let's eat.
Today, there's I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. It's made with a blend of nutritious oils, so it has 70% less saturated fat with a fresh butter taste. I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
Every day, millions of people choose to do the right thing. There's an insurance company that does that too. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Presenting the Travelocity Race to Savings Sale. Save up to 50% on vacations to our top hotels. But hurry, because like the Amazing Race, you gotta be fast.
Can a car company grow in harmony with the environment? Why not? At Toyota, we're not only working toward cars with zero emissions, we're also striving for zero waste in everything else we do. Because the best way to have an impact on the environment is to have as little impact as possible.
It's the most heartwarming product placement movie of the year.
Rachel, you know what your problem is. You want everything. You want a husband, you want unlimited text, unlimited data, and unlimited calls.
Instinct, only from Sprint.
Someone got an email.
Featuring lightning-fast internet, voice-cued GPS navigation, and starring the Simply Everything plan from Sprint.
Why wouldn't I want everything for just $99.99 a month? Maybe you're afraid to be in love.
The new Samsung Instinct, only on the Now Network. Visit InstinctThePhone.com.
When his fantasy comes to life, two worlds collide.
Somebody might get hurt.
Impressive. Order Forbidden Kingdom tonight.
I am His Holiness, the Guru Pitka.
The Guru with the magic touch.
Damn.
Mike Myers stars as the Love Guru. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
The NBA season is back. From October 28th through November 4th, check out NBA League Pass for free. See the top stars and your favorite teams wherever you live with a special free preview of opening week. Compare the numbers and box scores every night on Stats Central. Check your on-screen guide for channel locations. And watch games online with NBA League Pass broadband, which is included with your subscription. Check out a free preview of NBA League Pass on Comcast Digital Cable, October 28th through November 4th.
MSNBC Tonight. Tonight on MSNBC.
Politics never slows down. Neither do we. That's why America's fastest growing news channel is MSNBC.
On the internet machine, there's something called Godwin's Law. Godwin's Law holds that, roughly speaking, the longer an online discussion goes on, the more likely it is that someone is going to compare something to Nazis. The principle is that when you run out of substantive things to say, but you still feel very strongly about something, you embarrass yourself and spoil your own credibility by making a totally over-the-top, predictable, inappropriate accusation. It's like Hitler. I hereby propose a similar adage, not for online discussions, but for American politics. I hereby submit that the longer it's clear that liberals or Democrats are going to win an election, the longer it's clear that liberals or Democrats are winning an argument, the more likely it becomes that someone is going to get called a commie, socialist, Bolshevik, commie, pinko, comrade, 5-year planner.
Taking more from a small business or from a small business owner or from a hardworking family and then redistributing that money according to a politician's priorities. There are hints of socialism in there.
Hints of socialism. With 15 days to go, the best thing they can come up with is Barack Obama's a socialist. He's a commie. Here's the thing about Godwin's Law with people invoking Hitler online, and it's just as true about the communist accusation in American politics. It is, most of all, an embarrassment to the person making the accusation. No one who's not an actual Nazi is like a Nazi. Barack Obama is not a communist. Cutting taxes is not a socialist plot. You're just embarrassing yourself now. So most of all, it's sad and funny that the McCain campaign is resorting to calling Barack Obama a commie. But maybe there's a method to this madness. Maybe they are willing to risk embarrassing themselves like this because they think they're onto something. This is from Senator McCain's weekly pseudo-presidential radio address this past weekend.
At least in Europe, the socialist leaders who so admire my opponent are upfront about their objectives. Barack Obama's tax plan would convert the IRS into a giant welfare agency, redistributing massive amounts of wealth at the direction of politicians in Washington.
Welfare? Where'd that come from? Welfare. Yeah, the great racially divisive code word from the 80s and 90s that has no bearing whatsoever on Barack Obama's tax policies. But that word does create a vague impression that this candidate might want to give out welfare handouts. You've heard the phrase, the Bradley effect, right? The Bradley effect describes a scenario in which more voters tell pollsters that they're going to support a black candidate than actually do cast a vote for that candidate. It means polls might be misleadingly high for an African-American candidate. The Obama campaign says that they do not believe the Bradley effect exists. There is legitimate difference of opinion about whether it exists. There's good evidence, for example, that it didn't exist in the 1982 California governor's race for which it was named. But the evidence from the campaign trail suggests that the McCain campaign believes in the Bradley effect. They believe it's real. You could write a textbook of how to summon and stoke the Bradley effect based on the McCain-Palin campaign's tactics. Here's Governor Palin campaigning today in Colorado.
Barack Obama claims that he will cut income taxes for 95% of Americans. But the problem with that claim is that 40% pay no income tax at all. So how can you cut income taxes for folks who don't pay them? His plan is to cut them a check and call that a tax credit.
So a tax cut for rich people is conservative, but a tax cut for the middle class and poor people is welfare? A government handout? Socialism? It's ridiculous, but it makes the right vague impression. If the Bradley effect is there to be stoked, if it is to be believed as a political science phenomenon, then could it swing North Carolina, say? Ohio? Florida? Anywhere else where the polls are close? Joining us now is Melissa Harris Lacewell. She is an associate professor of politics and African American studies at Princeton University. Melissa, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
You and I have talked a lot about the Bradley effect this campaign season, what it is, whether it's real. The reason I wanted to talk with you about it again tonight is because I feel like we've seen a drastic turn toward the kind of campaign tactics you would expect a campaign to use if they wanted to exploit this effect. So help me out here. Describe what the theory of the Bradley effect is, how it works.
Well, let's be clear. The Bradley effect means specifically that white Americans who should be supporting a black candidate, say because they're in the same party that he is, claim to pollsters that they're going to support him and then choose not to vote for him on Election Day. What that would mean in this case, to induce a Bradley effect, would mean that somehow John McCain's strategy would have to be appealing to white Democrats. The white Democrats would be harboring in their heart an unwillingness to vote for Barack Obama while telling pollsters that they would. Now, I don't think that that's what's going on. I do think that John McCain and Sarah Palin are clearly, as a context of their campaign, trying to use race as a wedge issue. That's what welfare is as a code word. It's not quite the same thing as trying to induce a Bradley effect, but it is hoping that there's enough latent racism left in the system that they can use that to defeat Barack Obama.
I know that you have said that we didn't see a Bradley effect in the primaries this year. We didn't see Barack Obama underperforming his poll numbers. What kind of races do we see that effect work, if it ever does?
Look, this is upside down world where the candidate who has built a 50-state strategy for the Democrats, who has the broadest multiracial coalition in Democratic Party history, who has people canoeing or, out to see him in Oregon and 100,000 of them standing under the St. Louis Arch, is somehow going to be victimized by this latent white racism. I think it's maybe a little bit unfair to think of white Americans as all being represented by the folks that are showing up at the Palin rallies. There's very little evidence. We had such a long primary season, and sometimes Barack Obama underperformed, and sometimes he overperformed with white voters. But there was nothing consistent to tell us that white voters are overwhelmingly making this decision about Barack based on race.
Do you see a specific strategy from the McCain campaign in using this welfare term over and over again now and talking about redistribution of resources toward minority communities? The reason it's so striking to me is because they really had to go very far out on a limb to come up with a way to talk about middle-class tax cuts as welfare. It seems like they were deliberately trying to come up with some excuse for using that word. Do you think it's on purpose?
Well, let me first say that my pink ribbon today is for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, not for some sort of communist plot, just in case anybody's watching. And again, this is upside down bizarro world where the GOP, which has, overseen the massive redistribution of wealth from the middle class to the wealthiest, smallest percent of Americans, who are engaged in a kind of corporate socialism that is buying out, Wall Street, for them to then call the candidate most interested interested in creating a sort of equality, a sharing of the goodies of the American system. I mean, right now, Americans are sharing the burden of the American system. Poor people and middle-class people are taking the brunt of bad decisions made by the very wealthy on Wall Street. Why shouldn't they also benefit when things get a little bit better? It's just a very strange thing to watch a very wealthy candidate sort of laugh about the idea of sharing a few of his 7 houses with the rest of the country.
Even if it wasn't him, I would think it was funny to have them yelling Bolsheviks, Bolsheviks. It just implies a certain hilarious desperation at this point. Melissa Harris-Lacewell, Associate Professor of Politics and African American Studies at Princeton. It's always great to have you on the show. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks.
An old joke says that America and England are 2 countries separated by a common language. You could say the same about John McCain and Sarah Palin. Are they for robocalls or against them? The senator is for them. The governor doesn't seem like she is, but how can you really tell? Does anybody here speak Palin? We'll ask Anna Marie Cox next. But before we go, a little bit more on the breaking news tonight that Barack Obama is leaving the campaign trail on Thursday of this week, to spend time with his ill grandmother in Hawaii. This is dramatic and unexpected breaking news tonight from the Obama campaign. We now have a statement from Obama spokesman Robert Gibbs. Quote, Senator Obama's grandmother, Madeline Dunham, has always been one of the most important people in his life. Along with his mother and his grandfather, she raised him in Hawaii from the time he was born until the moment he left for college. As he said at the Democratic convention, she poured everything she had into him. Recently, his grandmother has become ill, and in the last few weeks, her health has deteriorated to the point where her situation is very serious. It is for that reason that Senator Obama has decided to change his schedule on Thursday and Friday so that he can see her and spend some time with her. He will be returning to the campaign trail on Saturday. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Your daily vegetables and fruit can be difficult. 9 out of 10 adults don't get the recommended amount. That's why there's V8 V-Fusion juice. It's 100% juice with a full serving of vegetables, a full serving of fruit, and antioxidants A, C, and E. You get vegetable nutrition we all need, but what you taste is the fruit. Plus, there's no added sugar and no preservatives. Try V8 V-Fusion in 5 great flavors. An easy, delicious way to get more vegetables. Brand Power, helping you buy better.
Stop ignoring me. With a variable annuity from AXA Equitable, you get guaranteed income for life, and your assets have the potential to grow tax-deferred. But what do I know? I'm just the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
So what's stopping you? Visit it'seasytoinsulate.com or call 1-800-GET-PINK.
No! About time. Here's your Kellogg's All-Brand Strawberry Medley. Never had cereal like this before. Real strawberries. Smell them. Crunchy granola clusters.
Introducing the delicious all-brand that isn't just brand. Kellogg's All-Brand Strawberry Medley.
You know, during our Time to Recline sale, you could get some incredible deals. You recline much?
Sure. All the time.
Excuse me. That's my dog.
I've been a fool.
The Time to Recline sale. Come in for incredible savings and enter to win the Time to Recline sweepstakes. Comfort. It's what we do. Lazy Boy.
I call it my one less thing to worry about plan. With a Humana Medicare Advantage health plan, I get more clear information about my options with 24-hour access to my Humana, my secure website, and I can get help every step of the way from a Humana Market Point representative.
More of what you want, because you deserve more.
Who loves you, pretty baby? Who's gonna help you through the night?
Jersey Boys is starting its 2nd year, and the whole town celebrating.
Who loves you? Who loves you?
Who loves you, pretty baby?
Who loves you? Who loves you? Who loves you?
Who loves you?
Who loves you?
Who loves you, pretty baby?
Who loves ya?
John Hodgman is going to be here tonight. You may know him as PC from those Mac ads, or from The Daily Show, or from This American Life. We will be musing about politics, his new book, and how bad it's going to be for comedians if Barack Obama wins. Because seriously, does that mean the end of saying thanks but no thanks to everything? First, though, it's time for one underreported holy mackerel story in today's news. In Iraq tonight, a proposed deal between American and Iraqi officials appears to be going nowhere fast due to Iraqi domestic politics. The proposed deal would allow U.S. troops to remain in Iraq after the United Nations legal mandate expires December 31st of this year. So many Iraqis want U.S. troops gone now that Iraqi politicians are finding themselves hesitant to have their fingerprints or their signatures on any agreement that extends the U.S. stay. And so there is no agreement. Political parties in Iraq are fleeing from the proposal, and tens of thousands of Shiite and Sunni Iraqis marched against it in Baghdad this weekend. It has been exactly 2,000 days since President Bush declared that we had prevailed in major combat operations in Iraq. In front of that infamous Mission Accomplished banner, it has been 2,000 days.
Life is a journey. And there's a locally owned Citgo station that's an important part of yours. Because our independently operated stations provide thousands of local jobs. And all the people of Citgo come together to give back to our communities. Because life's a journey, and together we'll all enjoy the trip. Your locally owned Citgo, there at every turn.
Free Wi-Fi, giving you the freedom to get out and work wherever you want. Courtyard, it's a new stay.
Every night you sleep, but your dreams are wide awake. Because ambitions never sleep, aspirations never sleep, goals never sleep, hopes never sleep, opportunities never sleep, the world never sleeps. That's why we work around the world. That's why we work around the clock to turn dreams into realities. That's why City never sleeps.
Meet the Butter Tubs.
Dinner's ready.
Back then, we didn't know much about saturated fat.
Let's eat.
Today, there's I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. It's made with a blend of nutritious oils, so it has 70% less saturated fat with a fresh butter taste. I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
Yeah, we can go with the neutral wall for a very modern, clean feel.
This is top quality, and we are happy.
And I like it. It looks perfect with the floor coverings. Yeah.
I think so.
Please, I'll get this.
Oh, thank you. Of course.
Was ist das denn für eine Karte?
Das ist wohl eine Kindergartenkarte.
Bin ich die Einzige, die das merkwürdig findet?
Ja.
Auf Fluss.
Good day. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. I think that went well, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me get this, okay?
If you own your business, own the card that says so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Gold Card, with rewards to reinvest in your business. Earn discounts and points on the same purchase. And more bonus points as your spending increases. To apply, visit open.com/gold or call 888-583-OPEN. American Express Open, calling all business owners.
To a certain extent, we are the beacon of democracy for the world. As much as the Constitution has done for us, the American democratic example can do for the world.
MSNBC, the place for politics.
Smart Money says the Obama-McCain race is going to tighten up over the next 2 weeks. That is a pretty safe bet. But how exactly did the race get here? What is the biggest drag on McCain's numbers right now? General Powell, a little help here?
I don't believe she's ready to be president of the United States, which is the job of the vice president. And so that raised some question in my mind as to the judgment that Senator McCain made.
That's right. Perhaps the single biggest anti-buoyancy agent of the McCain-Palin campaign is Sarah Palin. There, I said it. I've been thinking it for a long time. There's me saying it. Palin's prospects hinge on the absence of crisis, like, say, the economy curdling like milk in the sun. You need some evidence? A new Washington Post ABC News poll out today finds that 52% of likely voters say that McCain's pick of Sarah Palin has made them less confident in the kind of decisions that he would make as president. That's up 13% since just after McCain picked her. A recent LA Times poll finds that voters are now less likely to vote for McCain because of Palin, especially independent voters who once loved John McCain and his maverickness. In September, 38% of independents said they were more likely to vote for McCain because of Palin. Now just half that number say that. That's 19% of independent voters lost in a month. And lately, Governor Palin seems out of step with her own campaign. Here's Senator McCain on Fox News yesterday defending his use of robocalls, specifically the one his campaign is using to try to link Barack Obama with Bill Ayers.
I care about everybody knowing the relationship between the two of them. That's legitimate. We need to know the full extent of that relationship. That is an accurate robocall.
McCain is okay with robocalls as long as he feels they are accurate. So that's the campaign line, right? Sure, Palin feels the same way, right?
If I called all the shots and if I could wave a magic wand, I would be sitting at a kitchen table with more and more Americans, talking to them about our plan to get the economy back on track and winning the war, and not having to rely on the old conventional ways of campaigning that includes those robocalls.
So, Governor Palin, you're against robocalls.
Hi, this is Sarah Palin. One of our local campaign volunteers just called you, and I wanted to follow up and ask for your support.
If only she had that magic wand, or even just the gall to say no. How much less can you ask for from your running mate anyway? Joining us now is Time Magazine contributor and Radar Magazine's Washington editor, Anna Marie Cox. Anna Marie, thanks for joining us again.
Good evening, Rachel.
Conventional wisdom says vice presidential picks do not matter, but who has been worse for a presidential ticket than Sarah Palin?
Well, it's hard to look at the numbers and say that she hasn't done a terrible job. Although if you look very closely at the numbers, McCain is still out-polling the number of people who are very disappointed in the Palin pick. So he's getting those numbers from somewhere. But then again, Barack Obama is also picking up more numbers than the polling on Simply Palin would suggest. So he's picking up people even who think the Palin pick was not disastrous. So she's actually, I would say, while very, very, very bad news for McCain, somehow not the worst.
It's like, so does that mean that people are disappointed in her, think it reflects poorly on the candidates, but they're willing to go there anyway?
You know, we have what are called low information voters out there, Rachel. Perhaps that's who we're talking about when we talk about them. I actually find this whole drama of say, the Sarah Palin pick to be, well, I think even told you that I find the McCain campaign to be a sort of fascinating tragedy, Shakespearean in its own way. But I think the problem is that McCain and Palin are in two different Shakespeare plays. I think that McCain is perhaps in King Lear, sort of the troubled, the troubled patriarch who's made a lot of mistakes, but you don't quite want him to die quite yet. And then Sarah Palin is the villain in Titus Andronicus, which I'm quite willing to let her go off stage as soon as possible. I was talking with a friend of mine and I offered up Lady Macbeth, but he pointed out that Lady Macbeth goes off stage very quickly, and she is here for the long haul, perhaps even after 2008.
Well, that's what I wonder if that's what's going on right now with these public disagreements within the campaign on where to campaign. Her saying we shouldn't get out of Michigan. Recently, the federal ban on gay marriage. She expressed a difference of opinion with Senator McCain on that. Now on robocalling, is this maverickiness, or is this her saying that she ought to be the one running for president?
I think there are a few different things. Let's not also sort of write off the possibility that there's a simple ineptitude, which could be happening right here. I have a friend on the campaign who once compared the McCain campaign itself to a plane on fire looking for a landing. And I put this to another staffer once, and he said that may be true, but if that's true, the McCain campaign is a different plane than the Palin campaign. And I think that's what you're seeing here. I think there are two different sets of pilots, perhaps even two different command towers. I think that there's kind of a lack of communication, and let's see, to put it quite generously, the McCain plane and the Palin plane are not looking for the same landing place.
One last question for you, Anna Maria, and that is, okay. I just wanted to get your reaction to tonight's breaking news that Senator Obama is unexpectedly going to call off his campaign on Thursday and Friday. He's going to be leaving the campaign trail to go be by the bedside of his ailing grandmother. Obviously, this is at first, second, and third. This is a personal tragedy, and we hope for the best for his family. This also has some political consequences, does it not?
Of course it does. And of course, I think we all, all our prayers go out to Barack Obama's grandmother on this count. And I wouldn't want to make light of the situation, but I think that for Barack Obama, the important thing here, the only risk he has is if McCain suspends his campaign again. Then things could go badly for Obama. But I think, he could probably just take the rest of the month off if he really wanted to. But of course he won't. And I know that actually no one in Obama land is taking this lightly, and no one there is unfurling the mission accomplished banner quite yet.
Anna Marie Cox, Radar Washington editor and Time Magazine contributor. It's always great to have you on the show. Thanks.
Always good to be here.
Coming up, The Daily Show's John Hodgman is here. He is an expert on everything. He has just written a book full of expertise. Can't think of a more valuable guest during these times than a man who knows absolutely everything about everything.
The Hyundai Santa Fe has impressive features, like room for 7, available all-wheel drive, and America's best warranty. But the most impressive feature of all, 24 miles per gallon. After all, what good is a crossover utility vehicle if you can't afford to drive it?
Right now, get up to $3,500 cash back on a fuel-efficient 2008 Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm sorry, the party ended like 2 hours. What's that?
Kahlua French vanilla.
Kahlua hazelnut. You bring ice? Okay, but don't wake my wife.
Explore your curiosity with Kahlua flavors.
Oh, this is interesting. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Greg.
I think we have a little competition. What do you say we move forward with that new data center like we did with the LA office?
Sure, Greg. We can customize your Blade servers with the same software and security we discussed yesterday.
Right, so I just plug in and I'm good to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I call that? Sweet.
Turning new technology into your technology. CDW is there with the customized solutions you need.
Oh, look at this. Bring it on.
We're looking for everyone who hasn't tried Honey Bunches of Oats. Would you like to try some?
Great.
This is very good.
What's in this stuff?
It's the perfect combination of crispy flakes, crunchy oat clusters, and just a touch of honey in every spoonful.
One spoonful is all it takes!
It's the most traded market in the world, with over $3 trillion traded every day. It's open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's the over-the-counter foreign exchange market at Forex.com. Trade the euro, yen, US dollar, and other currencies. Go to Forex.com/TV10 today, set up a free practice account, and try currency trading risk-free. Then when you're ready, just trade. Forex.com. Online currency trading on your schedule at your fingertips. Go to Forex.com/TV10 today.
The path that helps guide them step by step toward a rock-solid retirement. It starts right at work with a retirement plan managed by one of America's most trusted names, Prudential. Find your path. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement.
With the prospect of our nation's first African-American president or first female vice president at hand, we think it's a good idea to take a look back at another history-making presidency, that of our first white male president. And by that I mean our first president. Gather round. It's story time. Tonight's story comes from the book More Information Than You Require, the latest in fake trivia from the illustrious, mysterious, enigmatic, and very good-looking John Hodgman. We pick up the story after an effort has been launched to make General George Washington King of America. But Washington would not be king. He was at once a Virginian aristocrat and a toothless farmer. And so the nation would find in him the compromise they sought, a bewigged half-sultan whose powers would be carefully checked and balanced by those of Congress and the Supreme Court, but who would all the same wear white pancake makeup and have hemophilia. John, you make up great stuff.
Oh, I didn't make any of it up, though.
That's largely true. They did. There was a movement to make a king of America, you know.
There's just enough true in the book to be very alarming with things like that.
That's true. I aim to alarm. It's very nice to see you.
It's nice to see you, too.
You did a wonderful reading. Will you read on my book tour?
I would love to,
because
actually.
I would like to stay home.
John Hodgman is the author of More Information Than You Require. You may know John as the PC from the I'm a Mac and I'm a PC ads. He's also The Daily Show's resident expert on everything from elitism to oil addiction to spirituality. You may also know him from the public radio juggernaut that is This American Life, and the new book, More Information Than You Require. John, you essentially have made a living being sort of a fake expert.
Yes, that's correct. It's a good job, too, let me tell you. It requires very little research.
How much real goes into being fake so that your fake trivia and your fake expertise alarms people about the real world?
Well, the first place you look for fake expertise is in your own brain. All of the half-truths and received wisdom that have sort of gotten in there through people telling you things that aren't true and stuff you maybe learned in school, like legends, for example, about George Washington chopping down a cherry tree. That was the beginning of fake expertise in this country. It was all a complete fabrication by Parson Weems' fake biography, which is now part of the American biography, as it were. So you start by just thinking, what is it that I think I know? And then you say that with a very straight face. And often it's just bogus, of course. And then when you run out of fake stuff in your own head, that's when you turn to the internet, of course.
I feel like what you've just done, though, is you just impersonated a 2008 campaign consultant. What do people believe that is totally untrue, but they've got sort of a prejudiced inkling toward it that I could say with a straight face and capitalize on politically?
Absolutely.
That seems like the same way of thinking that drives us to what this fact-free campaign we've had.
It's storytelling, do you know? And jokes are perhaps the shortest stories that there are in the canon of fiction. But then, you know, political smears are probably the longest lasting. We will remember them forever.
Yes, if only because we can't get the smell of them off our clothes.
Yes, indeed.
Did Sarah Palin's appearance on Saturday Night Live this weekend do her some good politically, do you think?
Well, I don't know. You know, I only watched little snippets. I turned it on for a second and I couldn't watch anymore.
Why not?
Well, I feel like I have been asked to watch her reinvent herself a couple of times now. I've been asked to see her finally show who she is. What I saw was someone who's very comfortable in front of the camera. She can do this very well, do you know? But, you know, I feel like she's had her chance to show me who she really is, and I'm not seeing any more at this point. So I didn't want to see another reinvention necessarily, you know.
One thing that has struck me about Sarah Palin's, I guess, introduction to the American people, an introduction to the polity, is this idea that her own belief and insistence that she is qualified for the job that she is seeking is itself supposed to be evidence that she is qualified.
Well, I mean, that's been a hallmark of the past 8 years of polity, exactly. It's this magical thinking. If I say that is so, it must be true. Yeah. If I say that I mean, look, she's a capable governor, it would seem. She won that election. She's very well supported in Alaska. But just because of that, it does not automatically make her a national figure. The biggest failing, of course, is her inability to speak on a national media stage. She had no experience. It's nothing against her. She'll probably get the experience eventually and be very good at it. But that Katie Couric interview revealed what was irredeemably true about her, which is she just hadn't done it before. And you can't pretend that you've done it before and fake your way into a job of that caliber.
And it is sort of part of the job. You do have to be able to explain yourself in cogent terms to members of the media in order to be an effective president.
One of the reasons I find this election so exciting as a fake expert is that it's a referendum on reality. You know, obviously there's a lot of fiction telling and storyline spinning going on out there. But for the most part, what Barack Obama's message is, you know what's going on. I'm not going to try to tell you different. And in the meantime, you have the other campaign, quite surprisingly, tossing out conspiracy theories, you know, from the top of the campaign, which has happened forever, of course, but never really from the presidential and vice presidential candidates so strongly. Because you have to believe Barack Obama must really love terrorists, and any reasonable person knows that's not true.
John Hodgman, author of the new book, More Information Than You Require. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Next time with cocktails, please.
I'm sorry. I've been working on that with the FCC.
Well, your fancy new TV show. You can't go out anymore.
Coming up next, I get just enough pop culture from Kent Jones. Will Barack Obama get a mohawk? Maybe just a little one?
I will keep them from harm. As a doctor, I have taken an oath.
And in that oath it states
that I will help people.
But because of the crisis of the uninsured,
the people who need to see me the most
don't come to see me.
The American Medical Association has solutions to the crisis of 46 million uninsured.
It's a curable condition.
Visit voicefortheuninsured.org to see our proposal.
Meet the Butterton.
Dinner's ready. Back then, we didn't know much about saturated fat.
Let's eat.
Today, there's I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. It's made with a blend of nutritious oils, so it has 70% less saturated fat with a fresh butter taste. I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
It's time for everyone to wake up and seize power. The power of over 7,000 movements a minute. The power to clean tooth by tooth and reduce up to twice as much plaque as a regular manual brush. The power to demand a dentist-like smooth, clean feeling every day. Power to the people. Oral-B.
Who would you give a leave to?
My sister for her arthritis pain.
Definitely my mom for her back pain.
I'd give it to my uncle for his knee pain.
This October, help someone move pain-free with a free box of Aleve during the Aleve Buy One, Give One giveaway.
What Korean Air is made of.
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
Roderick, quit fooling around and help me build my own Capital One credit card. I'll go with airline miles and a low interest rate. And let's put a picture of Emerald Barkey on it. Oh, he's a salty sea dog, isn't he? Fine specimen, sir.
Personalize your card at Capital One Card Lab. Choose your rewards, interest rate, even upload your own image at CapitalOne.com.
What's in your wallet?
Next, when someone needs to speak out, Keith's your man. An all-new special comment on Countdown with Keith Olbermann. Next, only on MSNBC.
Now it's time for Just Enough with my friend Kent Jones. Hi, Kent. What do you got?
Evening, Rachel. Well, last night in the American League Championship Series, the Mohawk-wearing Rays closed out the Red Sox. Sorry, Rachel. So today in Tampa, Barack Obama tried to glom onto some of that World Series mojo.
Congratulations to the Rays. Those are just some wonderful young men, and I had a chance to meet their families, and they're just outstanding people. I was going to cut my hair in a mohawk in solidarity. But my political advisors said they weren't sure how that was going to play with swing voters.
Now, if John McCain's political advisors told him he could steal 5 points from Obama in Florida by getting a mohawk, McCain would say, how high and what color? You want spikes or hedge? You want the Mr. T or the Joe Strummer in Combat Rock? Bring me a razor! Next, along the Utah-Arizona border, researchers have found more than 1,000 dinosaur footprints with tail drag marks. This is so cool. This cluster of tracks likely belonged to at least 4 different species of dinosaurs. Said one researcher, quote, there must have been more than one kind of dinosaur here. It was a place that attracted a crowd, kind of like a dance floor. The dance floor theory was confirmed when paleontologists found a fossilized red velvet rope nearby, presumably to keep out the Neanderthals. Clubs. And finally, the economy is tanking. What should we listen to? The New York Times reported yesterday that a study of Billboard #1 songs from 1955 to 2003 found that in shaky economic times, people tend to prefer songs that are longer, slower, and have more meaningful lyrics. Said Professor Terry Pettyjohn, quote, it's bridge over troubled water, and that's what friends are for. In better times, it's more likely to be faster, upbeat songs like At the Hop or My Sharona. So buy some American stock right now, everyone, or we're looking at the return of air supply, and I will always love you. Not on our watch. Not on our watch.
Thank you, Kent. And thank you for watching tonight. We will see you here tomorrow night. Until then, check out our new podcast on iTunes or at rachel.msnbc.com. Countdown with Keith Olbermann starts right now. Good night.